Gemini full moon, the moon of the inner child expressing its anger, vocalizing its frustrations, bringing things not only to a culmination, but to full completion. As for how do I create a safe environment for the creative within me to speak without thinking, to move beyond these wounds where I spoke up, I screamed, I yelled like a little kid in the supermarket. And I'm overcoming the stage where my mom or my dad or a guardian or even a big brother, Gemini representing siblings, okay? Mars representing brothers, Mars currently in Sagittarius. Even a big brother or a little brother, maybe you're one or the other, telling you that's not cool and that was your idol. And so you collected that information, which is what Gemini does. It collects information, it stores conversations. And until Virgo, it doesn't really start to organize that information. It just has it, it's somewhere. And so the gifts are pretty much interwoven with the wounds, interwoven with societal expectations, Gemini representing society. And what's magical is on this full moon in Gemini, it is trining Pluto in Capricorn. So again, society at large versus society in your local environment. At large being Capricorn, local environment being Gemini. Before I go any further, I want to go ahead and say thank you for taking a moment to go ahead and hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed and you're brand new and you resonate with this video, only if you resonate, I would like for you to subscribe. If not, don't. But if you do, hit that subscription button. For those of you who are coming back, thank you for your patience in between. So, as we move in, this Gemini full moon, I really do believe that a lot of rage within the coming days, a lot of rage, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, many misconceptions, miscommunications will happen. And they're happening so that you can essentially overcome what is stopping you from being a creator. Gemini represents the hands and it is here to create. Okay, so notice things that have been happening to your hands. For example, I was in the woods and I got pines in my hand, and it tells me where it's at, whether it's aligned with the sun, the Jupiter. Another one on this left hand, the feminine hand, I got something underneath in the cracks between Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Leo and Virgo, for example. And that thorn tells me, it gives me a warning, among other things, right? I also got some in my feet, Pisces. All right, we have Neptune in Pisces currently, Saturn in Pisces. And if I'm not mistaken, this Gemini moon will be squaring that Saturn in Pisces. So again, what is it telling me? What is the warning? What is it trying to inform me of? So these are things and ways you can use the magic of reality, the magic of consciousness, and witness it manifest in the physical realm. Okay? Another thing that I really feel like is really major is with this full moon in Gemini, we're really having to look at the themes of superficiality and realize, are we living a life that is completely hectic, where we're just staying busy, but no real production is happening? Are you completely absent in the eyes, and when somebody looks into your eyes, they see nothing, and you see nothing, and you feel nothing? And these are two of the extremes that Gemini can be going through. One extreme is if you're forcing yourself to create, like the other day, for example, like my partner and I, we had a time where we had time to paint, and she was in flow. And I was there and I had my paint stuff in front of me, but I kind of knew already what I needed and what I wanted, and I didn't have that. And I was going to try to figure out how to finagle and finesse it. And eventually I just didn't. And thankfully I didn't, because that allowed her to have that space to continue to create without me trying to interrupt it, without me also not forcing my own. And I learned something, Gemini learning. I learned something brand new throughout this entire interaction with myself, literally, through the reflection of a partner, right? That's Gemini. And what I learned in this moment is that I like to create by myself. I like to create without having the emotional energy of other people around me, because then I'm not, in a sense, manipulating my own personal emotional energy. Like, I am a life path 11, and all life path 11s, if you're life path 11, drop that down in the chat. Say, me, life path 11. If you made it this far in the video, drop a Gemini sign down below. Okay. If you're not a life path 11, drop a Gemini sign below. And definitely hit the thumbs up and likes button. But I'm a life path 11, and life path 11s classically manipulate emotional energy. It is one of our best gifts, for better or for worse. The high extremes, the low extremes, and we're always in tune with the emotional energy, or the second dimensional realm, reality. All right, where we all can feel. This is the dream realm. This is the dreamscape. These are one of the things that connect me to those shamanic spheres and spaces. That dream realm, they can get confusing as for which emotions are mine or which are not. And so painting for me is a very emotional process, right? When it comes to that whole child finally starting to create something that is unique to me and not for the collective. So I realized, and I learned, Gemini, during this time frame, that what I value about art, and one of the things I value about art, is doing it alone. Even when I hosted a paint workshop, I had my own tools to give, or to do for myself, among like 4 or 5 other people at a paint workshop. And I gave mine away to the person that forgot theirs. And I actually went off and started walking after giving instructions and blah, blah, blah. And it brought me a lot of joy to watch them all create and paint, while I just kind of off in my own world, just like, and I learned, Gemini, full moon, what did you learn? This is the question. What have you learned that is now being implemented without thought? And that's the completion. I want to write that as a question for a writing prompt. What have you learned that no longer requires thought? Okay? What have you learned that no longer requires thought? So for me, for example, I no longer, and even in that moment, because this is gate 20 in human design, this is a gate of presence. Okay? The gate of presence, literally being present. And being present means that you're not in your mind. Okay? And so I want to expand on that as I finish this last piece. What I learned ultimately in that moment was that I need to, not even just need, I enjoy, I value. Whoa, look at that. Dead leaf just hit me in the hand. Dead leaf from the fall winter, just hit me in my hand, in my left hand. So boom, it's like I fully received this message that art for me is an individual process. I like to and prefer to be alone when I create. And it brought me so much joy to still watch other people create while going off and being in my own world. So I move forward now. That's finishing that topic. This full moon in Gemini, happening at 4 degrees, is doing 2 major things that I haven't mentioned yet. Number one, this Gemini full moon is helping us with stillness. Okay, at the 4th degree, this degree of Cancer, or in the major arcana represented by the Chariot card. Now, the Chariot always feels like, yes, it's victory, yay, yay, yay. But remember, what comes after the Chariot is pretty much, the Chariot is the greatest victory in that moment. And the greatest victory in a moment is taking the time after you accomplish something to celebrate that thing in silence and in private with yourself. Are you creating something and celebrating it for yourself before you show the world? Have you really took the time to introspect, reflect, and feel deeply into how proud you are of what you have done and created so far? We've just passed the American holiday of Thanksgiving, and I've learned to really change my mind and understand that, like, look, yes, it's a massacre in one instance, but as I reflect on my own, I'm like, it's still a great time frame to reflect on what I'm grateful for. Change. Holiday traditions. Libra is in Venus. Sagittarius is in Mercury. These are very traditional signs. Libra, we know it for traditions, and a spiritual tradition could be more in that Sagittarius category rather than traditional tradition, right? And it's at the degree of 24, which is change, as well as this hangman energy in the tarot. So the hangman asks us to spend in time and essentially kind of wait for life to show us what it wants to show us. Now, this is happening at the same time of the Gemini full moon. So this is a major, major theme that if you can do that, you can learn to celebrate yourself. That's going to be magical. Now, on the other side, you want to look at, during this Gemini full moon, your opinions and start to respect and honor your opinions. Now, how do you do that? Again, it kind of is a sub branch of stillness, silence, peace, celebrating yourself. And through that, you now can realize, well, what are my opinions? What do I think about this? And a lot of us are really renewing our yardstick of judgment. So we're starting to realize that this inner voice, which is Gemini, always chattering, always chattering, always chattering, can only operate in a linear fashion. Okay? What's next? What's next? What's next? What's now? What's next? What's next? What's now? What's next? What's next? And it kind of works like that. But our being, our soul, does not work in a linear fashion, which is where the mind can become a crutch. And so our opinions and this inner thoughts, if it says something like, I don't want to go to this event tonight with my lover. I don't want to go. Honestly, every time I go there, people are just negative and they throw shade at me, and I feel really incomplete. I feel like I could be doing something totally better with my time. I don't want to go. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, that's the inner voice is yelling at me. It's loud. And each time the events come up, it's like it's louder and louder and louder. Okay, what does this signify? Well, this signifies that there's something I do or don't value that I'm not addressing. As we start to understand that this opinion is a protector of ours, it's trying to help inform us that, look, this is something that you do or you do not value. Will you respect that? The answer is yes or no. As you begin to respect it, you'll notice that that inner voice will start to quiet down and to find something else to focus its attention and its energy on. Okay? Manifestations, Gemini, the magician energy, right? And so this is one thing. It's helping us understand what do we value, what opinions we value. And as we start to understand what our opinions are separate for ourselves, which you can only do again, this fourth degree, the Gemini full moon, fourth degree, Cancer, in private, in retrospect, we can do something called backwards thinking and change how we form something. So if I have this glass of water, this much water is in this cup. If I have a different cup that is 5 times the height but skinnier, and I pour all that water into this glass that's skinnier, it's going to fill up the same amount of the taller glass. It's made up of the same emotions, the same feelings, the same forms of intuition. I don't want to say same forms, but the same intuition, the same psychic abilities, right? Water, same compassion, same gentle nature, yet it is now in a different form. So I can perceive my intuition different, my psychic abilities different, how I can be gentle with whoever and whatever, my thoughts, my mind, this protector of mine, right? And this is what's magical about this glass. Not the glass, but the fact that when we transfer the water into something different, it is the same, but our perception around it can change. How we honor it will shift. And that's what's happening. And, really Mercury in Sagittarius is helping us with a lot of that. Okay. And even Venus in Libra, which is how we show up on the professional stage, how we show up in public. Okay. How we climb the ladder within our relationships by creating equal exchanges, energetically speaking, understanding that every relationship is a transaction. Okay? Every relationship is a transaction. That does not mean that that transaction does not come with love and joy and anger and disappointment, but it's a transaction and there's a balance. So this Gemini full moon is really helping to support us with all of that. And as we understand those opinions, what then happens, we begin to understand what the desire is. What is our true desire? Okay, boom. This is my inner voice yelling about this event, and do I want to go? I don't want to go, yada, 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 yada. And then it's helping me desire what I desire. It's like, okay, well, what do I really desire to do if I'm not doing this? All right, well, I desire to go back and paint by myself because we discovered earlier that that's what I value. Great. Now, this is leading us to our emotion, which is the water. Again, the fourth degree in Cancer. And the water is saying, are you reaching fulfillment or not? Okay, do I accept this desire to paint or not? Let's say I go and paint, I now feel fulfilled. Okay, and throughout that whole process, the Gemini full moon is helping us to not think about that and just act. Because again, gate 20 is linked to the throat chakra. The throat chakra is action. I say something, I do it. I say something and I don't do it. I now do not trust my intuition. I don't trust my intuition. It starts to fail me in situations that may critically support me. And remember, manifesting generators, which connects to the throat chakra, are taking action on their heart. And Cancer is the feminine heart. Leo is the masculine heart, but Cancer is the feminine heart. It's the unconditional heart. And it is a frequency that operates well above what the mind's capacity can do, Gemini. So take a moment to go back, hit the thumbs up and likes button, subscribe if you're brand new, if you really enjoyed this. If you're back, I appreciate you. You know, you are the people who have been on this channel. We did give our reading away for hitting the 4K, so thank you. I think about maybe doing one when I hit 6K again. But that said, thank you for being here. If you made it to the end, drop the Gemini. And your planet. I want to have you drop the Gemini and the planet if you made it to the end. Okay, what planet? Okay, are you Jupiter in Gemini? Are you Moon in Gemini? Drop the planet with Gemini sign. All right. If you're Life Path 11, let me know down in the chat. A shout out to y'all, the emotional manipulators of energy. And I want to say thank you for being here. I love you. I appreciate you for hitting that thumbs up subscription button. Our memberships are always rolling. They have been rolling, even in my silence. And I've been spending a lot of time and energy with the memberships and really innovating that. So if you want to know more about that, just say more down in the chat next to your Gemini planet or your Life Path 11, and I will see you soon. Thank you for being here. Love.